And you look at where the league is now, who do they need to make the face of the league? Who should Stephen A be talking about day by day? Is Ja Morant? Can Ja Morant become one of those guys in Memphis?
In general, I think our advice to the league would be just put all of your stuff behind Ja right now.
It's a good bet.
So, Sel, can Ja Morant be the face of the league?
Yes, he can, and yes, he will become.
Shawty is the face of the league, man.
Is he?
Don't nobody want to give, man. You go in the hood, you go back to the, you know what I'm saying?
When be the face of the league?
Yeah, man, these little kids, they want to be on some Ja, Anthony Edwards.
I'm seeing them in more commercials
it's
now.
Ja, Anthony Edwards. And look at Memphis. Memphis, what, number 2?
He is one of the best players in the league. He is top 10, and he still has a legit chance to be that guy for the entire NBA if he continues to play at this level.
31-80, they beat Memphis. Largest playoff win in franchise history, largest game 1 win in NBA playoff history.
Why Ja Morant's era is officially over and why no one saw it coming isn't just about injuries, suspensions, or a broken jumper. It's about how fast a star can rise and how quietly that star can fade while fans are still applauding the highlights. Less than 3 years ago, Ja Morant was being crowned as the NBA's next cultural icon. He wasn't just good, he was electric. At just 22 years old, Ja made his first All-Star team, was named to the All-NBA second team, and led the Memphis Grizzlies to a franchise-best 56 wins. That's not a breakout season, that's a coronation. Ja wasn't walking onto the NBA stage. He was kicking the door down with 27 points per game, jaw-dropping dunks, and a swagger Memphis hadn't seen since the grit and grind era. He was the face of a young team that played with edge, confidence, and an underdog chip that made them impossible not to root for. And the league noticed. National TV slots increased. Nike made him a poster boy. Kids wore his jersey like it was the new Kyrie. Ja Morant had the league in a headlock, going viral every other night with some acrobatic layup or poster dunk that made you question physics. But here's the twist. Sometimes the flash blinds you from what's really happening underneath. And what happened next wasn't just a small setback. It was the beginning of a silent unraveling that nobody wanted to admit. If there's one night that immortalized Ja Morant and made people think he was the next face of the league, it was Game 2 of the 2022 playoffs against the Golden State Warriors. That night, Ja dropped 47 points in a must-win situation, tying the series 1-1 against the dynasty that had been terrorizing the Western Conference for nearly a decade. It wasn't just the scoring, it was the way he did it. Fearless attacks at the rim, clutch buckets in crunch time, and a fire that made the arena feel like it was about to burst. That performance didn't just put him on the map, it carved his name in stone. NBA Twitter lost its mind. Analysts were calling him a future MVP. Even the Warriors looked stunned, like they knew they had just seen the emergence of something real. For fans, it felt like a changing of the guard. This wasn't just another rising star. This was the guy. The league hadn't seen a young player dominate like this on that stage since prime Derrick Rose. But what no one realized at the time was that this would be the highest point of Ja Morant's career. He never reached this level again. And just 2 games later, everything changed. That's when the injuries began, the momentum shifted, and the spotlight slowly started slipping away without anybody noticing until it was too late. 2 games after that 47-point masterpiece, Ja Morant got hurt. A knee injury that looked minor but turned major, knocking him out for the rest of the series. And that was it. Memphis playoff hopes collapsed overnight. They were cooked. The same team that looked like future contenders 1 week suddenly looked lost, unsure, and overwhelmed without their leader. And what's crazy is that this single injury marked the start of a pattern that's defined Ja's career ever since. Inconsistency, fragility, and frustration. Because after that postseason, things were never the same. Ja started missing games more frequently, not with season-ending injuries, but with those frustrating little knickknacks. Sore shoulders, strained hamstrings, finger tweaks. Enough to sideline him, but not enough to calm fans. Then came the suspensions, the off-court noise, the drama. By 2023, Ja wasn't known for playoff heroics anymore. He was known for Instagram lives, missed games, and cryptic social media posts. He was spiraling. The worst part? Memphis was still trying to build around him like nothing had changed. But everything had. The superstar they thought they were building a dynasty around was no longer the same. He was a shadow of the guy who lit up the Warriors, and everyone was pretending not to notice. Fast forward to today, and you barely recognize this Grizzlies team. Memphis in 2025 looks nothing like the Memphis that took the league by storm in 2022. Back then, they were the bullies of the West. Young, loud, confident, and ready to fight anybody. Today, they look like they're running in quicksand. Injuries, roster inconsistency, and a complete energy drop have turned them from contenders into a cautionary tale. Meanwhile, the team they're facing in the playoffs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, look exactly like Memphis used to. Hungry, fast, fearless. Watching OKC is like watching a time machine. Jalen Williams flying around. Shai controls the tempo. Chet holding it down defensively. And Memphis? Stagnant, lost, tired. There's no rhythm, no cohesion, no belief. And the harsh truth is, it's not just a rough patch, it's the end of an era. The so-called Big Three of Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Desmond Bane aren't surviving the summer. Somebody's getting moved. And the million-dollar question isn't if the trio breaks up, it's who's the first one out the door. Most fans think it'll be Bane or JJJ. But what if it's not? What if the piece that doesn't fit anymore is Ja Morant? That's the part nobody wants to admit. Ja Morant, the highlight king, the franchise cornerstone, the fan favorite might be the one Memphis needs to let go. Why? Because if Ja is your number one option, what are you really getting? A walking highlight reel? Sure. A box office ticket seller? Absolutely. But a championship leader who plays 70-plus games, shows up in April and May and leads by example. Not even close. In today's NBA, availability is just as important, and Ja Morant simply isn't available. His body hasn't held up. His habits haven't matured. His growth has stalled. And while people blame his suspension for missing games, that's only part of the story. Ja's missed tons of time with small injuries that add up. And for a team trying to build real chemistry, that kind of unpredictability is killer. The offense never flows. The rotations are always changing, and guys never know what role they'll play night. If your superstar can't stay on the court, you don't have a foundation, then you have chaos. That's the reality Memphis is living in. And unless they move on from it, they'll keep wasting years pretending this is still 2022. Here's what people forget, that Ja Morant has never played more than 67 games single. Not once, not even close. Since entering the league, he's missed time every year, and it's not because of some catastrophic ACL tear or a broken. It's always the same frustrating pattern. Sprains, tweaks, soreness, discomfort. In 2025, he played just 50 games. In 2024, only 9. That one was split between suspension and injury. And in 2023, just 61. How do you build a championship contender around someone you can't rely on to even be there? You can't. And when your star is constantly out, everything else around him suffers. Your second and third options can never find rhythm. Your role players are constantly adjusting. Some nights they're getting 30 minutes and 15 shots. The next, they're invisible. Teams that win titles don't have chaos at the top. They have reliability. Steph shows up. Giannis shows up. Tatum shows up. Jokic shows up. Ja, maybe, maybe not. That maybe is what's quietly killed Memphis the last years. They've spent every offseason talking about potential instead of results. But when your future is always if Ja can stay healthy, that's not a future, that's a fantasy. And at some point, the franchise has to wake up and ask, are we building something real or are we chasing a ghost? Now let's talk about the actual on-court game, because even when Ja Morant is healthy, there's a giant hole in what he does. The guy can't shoot. Point blank. Defenses know it. Teammates know it. And worst of all, he knows it. Look at the numbers. His jump shot has gotten worse every single season. Back in 2020, he shot 41% on jump. Not great, but promising. In 2021, down to 36%. 2022 and 2023, stuck at 38%. And this season, even lower. For a modern point guard, that's not just a weakness, it's a liability. Teams are daring him to shoot, sagging off, clogging the lane, and the moment Ja steps outside the paint, threat disappears. And it's not just threes, he has no mid-range pull-up, no elbow game, no in-between shot that keeps defenders. Everything he does is built around one thing, attacking a rim. And sure, when it works, beautiful posters, circus layups, double clutch dunks. But that comes at a cost. Ja hits the ground hard every single night. His style isn't built for longevity. It's built for SportsCenter. And as his body breaks down and his shooting doesn't improve, what's left? An explosive guard who's slowly losing his explosion and never developed a plan. That's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. And without a jumper, Ja's game isn't aging, it's decaying. And maybe the most brutal reality check of all is watching someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just 3 years ago, Ja was the guy and SGA was the fringe all-star. Fast forward to now, and it's completely flipped. SGA is a legit MVP candidate, a two-way monster, and the engine of the hottest young team in the Ja. He's on the sideline again. Let's look at the numbers. With Ja on the court, Memphis has an offensive rating of 118 points. When he's off the court, 118.5. That's right, there's no difference. With Shai, it's night and day. Thunder's offense with him, 124 points. Without him, 113.9. That's the difference between a lottery team and a finals team. That's the impact. And it's not just analytics, watch the games. Shai is under control, polished, and clutch. He has a jumper. He defends. He leads. Ja still looks like a guy trying to figure out what he... And if we're being honest, Shai passed him a while ago. So did Tyrese Maxey. So did Anthony Edwards. So did Halliburton. These guards that came in after Ja are now clearly ahead of him. Not because they're flashier, but because they're better. They improved. They stayed healthy. They showed up. Ja, he peaked in 2022. And if you look closely, you can see it. You can feel it. The league is moving on. And Ja Morant is no longer the future, is becoming the past. So what does Memphis do now? Do they keep pretending this is just a rough stretch? Do they roll the dice again on Ja's health, focus, and his development? Or do they make the hard decision, the one nobody wants to admit they need to make? The truth is, if the goal is a championship, you have to let go of what used to be, focus on what can. Right now, Ja still has trade value. He's only 25, still electrifying, and still has believers across the league. But in 2 years, that value might be gone. Another injury, another 40-game season, another year of no jumper and no playoff win, and suddenly he's not the future anymore. He's a cautionary tale. Memphis has a chance right now to reset, to build around Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bain, to retool with depth, draft picks, and players who fit a more sustainable. Holding on to Ja because of past highlights is like holding on to an expired lottery. The numbers were exciting, but the payoff isn't coming. And the longer you wait, the worse it gets. The Ja Morant era in Memphis gave us memories, moments, and viral match. But that era is over. And pretending it's not is only delaying the rebuild. It has to. If you're serious about winning, there's only one path. It starts with moving on. And maybe the saddest part about all of this is that Ja Morant had it. He had everything. The talent, the swag, the charisma, the city behind him, the league behind him. He was supposed to be the guy, the heir to Westbrook, the next Iverson. But somewhere along the way, that path broke. And while fans were still sharing his dunks on TikTok, the league kept evolving. The stars around him got better, smarter, sharper, and Ja didn't. His story isn't a tragedy yet, but it's teetering on the edge. And the longer Memphis refuses to face the truth, the more painful that fall is going to be. In today's NBA, windows close fast. You can't afford to waste years on hope. You need results. And for all of Ja's talent, the results just haven't been. Not in the win column, not in the standings, not in the playoffs. So ask yourself that what's more important, holding on to a star who used to shine or chasing a future that's still key? Because if Memphis keeps waiting for 2022 Ja to come back, they'll wake up in 2027 still waiting. The Ja Morant era officially ended the moment the rest of the league passed him by. And if you're still not sure it's over, just look at who's left playing in May and who's watching from home. Well, see you guys in the next one. Peace out.